What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Inside 11, and today we want to talk about insecurities and vulnerabilities and things that affect us from going forward in our own life, but yet we also stop ourselves and we stop other people from going to their evolution by using our own insecurities and vulnerabilities on them. So there's a lot of ways, people in your personal life, whether it's your family, friends, associations, people at work, you got to understand that there's certain things people don't overcome about themselves and makes them insecure about themselves, and so they want to express that outwardly towards you. So they might put certain responsibilities. They might want to control your mind. They might want to direct your mind secretly behind closed doors, which is just ultimately really witchcraft. So the best position you can put yourself in as a spiritual person is somebody who actually goes and overcomes those insecurities, somebody who actually goes and overcomes those vulnerabilities, because those vulnerabilities are really just things that we didn't clean in our mind. And when we clean those things in our mind and we actually go through new experiences, we start to realize that those experiences weren't really anything that we needed to worry about in the first place, because it's really just an accumulation of whatever past life energies that we accumulated in another body, or maybe you accumulated this energy in this body, however your security system formulated itself. So for example, me, like, I didn't want to express myself, I didn't want to verbalize myself growing up, I didn't want to speak up about my own opinion or have my face be seen, or be loved or be valued by others in order to receive love and value. So whenever a female came into my life, I would play out some kind of rejection energy. Sometimes I would even hide my face and things like that. But that's simply because of an insecurity or a curse that was passed down from my mother and father, that I should have been adult enough to deal with. But based on being part of certain religions, certain traditions, those things are going to put those things in a box, in a glorified box, and make it look really good. So for example, a lot of men in Islam get arranged marriage, but based on that energy alone, that lets you know that they don't really necessarily love the other person. It's really just out of necessity, it's really just out of need, it's really out of just wanting something, wanting to get a desire out. Whenever you're in that type of energy, it's not gonna accumulate, and you're not gonna manifest children that are angelic. Not that angelic and demonic is bad, but on a percentage level, you're gonna get children that are not gonna listen to you as the father figure. And it's not about being able to play out a figure of authority in a person's life. Like, this is also what the person with insecurities and vulnerabilities that didn't deal with is going to try to do. They're going to try to play some kind of authority figure in your life, and they're going to want to tell you how to go about your life and your circumstance, and they're going to make sure that it's about that they're going to make you do it the same way they're doing it, and they're going about it in their life, because that's what makes a spirit subconsciously really really happy, is that when you see somebody else doing something the same way that they are doing it, and but that's really a validation for them to be like, oh yeah, see, because they're really just actually hiding their insecurity and their vulnerability in the back door. And when you do things like them, that kind of give them a sense of which is basically just a false sense of assurance, a false positive, that whatever that they're doing, that they can keep on doing. So there's a lot of people that have these vulnerabilities and insecurities, um, really play themselves out in a lot of different ways. But their main thing is they're gonna want to control you, and they're gonna want to make sure that they can have you in their lives. They're not gonna want anybody else to have you except them, because they're gonna in their heart, in their mind, they know that you're already the shit. They know that you already got a lot of gifts and talents that maybe because of whatever position in their childhood they wasn't able to accumulate. But it's really, again, it's always based on a vulnerability and insecurity that they're not willing to go through. And they're going to make these insecurities and vulnerabilities look really, really good. They're going to glorify it in some kind of box. Like, for example, this young generation likes to dress really well. And I don't necessarily be doing it for the same reason other people be doing it. Well, it's all fashion. I guess I like fashion and shit like that, looking good and all that. But you can see how fashion is even being used to, kind of create this false image in front of you, so you could think that this person is a certain way, but behind closed doors, they're really like a whole other way. It really just be a whole demon waiting for you to find out about them, because they're not gonna show themselves. And the moment you try to play out an energy to make them to point to their insecurities, you're gonna see them start doing really extreme things. You're gonna see them going really far, so they don't get that insecurity or vulnerability touched or damaged by anybody, because the last memory that they had, that they went through that, they got hurt, they were damaged, and now they're doing their best to run away from it. But this is actually a really, really bad idea, because really you're just actually preventing the inevitable. Because God is always going to chase you and show you your hind parts, your evil parts. And you know your evil parts. You know what you do that's good, and you know what you do that's bad. So don't run away from either or. Just make sure you balance both. So, for example, for me, one of my insecurities was not being able to express myself verbally to people. Not me being able to show my love for people, especially for females. Me being like a person from the Middle East and things like that, because love is actually looked down upon, and this is something a lot of Middle Eastern people is trying to come out of subconsciously. But when they come to the Western side of the world, they may play this out to an extreme level, to the point that the female might end up in a random place doing an extreme amount of drugs, because she's really actually trying to get out of these thoughts and feelings that was created for her to be in. And so the best way for them to do it is often like a drug that can get them out of that mind really quickly. But you gotta understand, once that high comes down, you're gonna be wanting more and more of that, because that's what got you in it. So whenever you're hooked on the titty, that's gonna just create a situation for you to play out that insecurity again in an extreme way. So even if you're hanging out with a group of people for the sake of insecurities and hiding your vulnerability and things like that, all these things are going to expire, because it's not about the right intent. You're all really just hanging out together just for insecurities and vulnerabilities. So when you go to the church and you see these pastors hanging out together, they're really not hanging out together. They're really just actually secretly competing with each other, and all of them want each other's wives. And it really just be some weird narcissistic, who can be the best, most dominant, most alpha male and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with being the most alpha male, because you gotta understand, most males by default is beta males, and most females by default are beta females. Now females are supposed to be beta, a house for a man to go in. But how is a man supposed to go inside of a house if the female thinks she's masculine and things like that? And that's something that we're seeing. So even females nowadays, based on men not being able to approach or play out the masculine energy, they find themselves in the position where they have to play out these masculine energies and things like that. But that's not good for a female. It's not good necessarily. It's not a good spirit for a female to be in, especially with you being a female body. Now, I'm not saying you can't be a manager or anything like that. I can see a lot of successful women in my life that started businesses and things like that. But it's always beneficial for a female just to play the role of the girlfriend, the wife. And that's not no specific role, like you gotta stay home and cook. That's just between you and your partner, and what you guys decide on as a form of agreement and contract for you guys to carry out as a living condition and a circumstance in your overall circle of life, or your monad, as far as your personal relationships, your home domestic life and how that goes, your friends' environment and where you guys live and things like that. So don't let anybody have your insecurities and vulnerabilities, because remember, people, your friends, your family, they know about your insecurities, they know about your vulnerability, because they've grown with you your entire life, and they know what they do to you behind closed doors to keep you locked and checked in those boxes, because they're really just the the warden in prison. They're gonna come on you once in a while, and they're gonna make sure they checklist. Yep, he's still acting this way. Yep, he's still insecure. Yep, because you gotta understand, they have these things in them themselves, and automatically, as a fail-safe system, they're not going to want you to get outside of these things, because these things represent, like, you know their security in a way, their assurance that but it's really like a weird energy, because they want to keep you locked inside of some kind of mental, spiritual cell where you can't expand yourself any further. So they just want you to stay in this feminine energy where you contract yourself, and you stay in their mental body, which is just an idea, thought, and a feeling of however they wanted to direct you and use you. But really, anybody who is using you is really just can already see that you already is the shit, but they really just want to secretly behind closed doors come in and copy you, take your energy, take you for granted, use whatever you accumulated for them to start accumulating, but it's always gonna fall for them, because whatever they was doing is not genuine, it's not good natured. Then God is always going to create a situation for you to be able to see that, and for you to be able to get out of that. But the thing is, if you was wise enough, if you have experience, you're able to see that from a distance, and you're not gonna have to spend the years, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years in that with that person, place, or thing or workplace, because really they're just using your energy because they can see your attributes and your characteristics and how they can use that in their life to expand whatever they're insecure and vulnerable about. So, for example, I have certain friends in my life that wanted to do music. Now they can see that lyrically I don't want to say I'm superior or better than anybody because I'm not. Because like I walk here on earth on the same level as everybody. I walk the same ground. I sleep the same time as people. Well, maybe not. I eat food. I take a shit. I piss. So I'm just like everybody else, and that's how I want everybody to treat me, and that's how I treat everybody. Everybody's equals, but we all have our own office. We all have our own lane, and it don't mean that anybody's better than anybody. But these people is gonna look at it like, oh, you must think you superior, you must think you better, because they're stuck in that higher lower. They stuck in that hierarchy system. They're still playing the rat race game. They're still playing the shadow government system and things like that. So be careful of these type of people because they're gonna make sure they do their best to keep you behind. But you make sure you with God. When you with God, these people was gonna be scared of you. They're gonna avoid you. They're not gonna want to talk to you because you represent now everything that they're afraid of being and doing. So keep that in mind also. And we're gonna infinitely see you guys on the next video. You better believe it. So take care of your insecurities, take care of your vulnerability, because that's really actually your hidden beauty. Like God actually loves that when a person can overcome their insecurity. That's why look, insecurities and vulnerabilities that become like the best music in the world. People, the music that you hear right now, it's just about somebody who overcame their insecurity, somebody who overcame their vulnerability, and now they're talking about it because other people can relate to that as well. Oh, you went from the darkness to the light, and then you draw a picture of that. That makes a person like subconsciously inspired. Like, okay, this person got out of something. Can I get out of my situation, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to get outside of these situations they're in. So that's why it's really, really important to do the shadow work. And I'm here to help with that shadow work because I've done the shadow work, and that's how I am where I am. This is how I am the man I am today. It's because I actually went and done these things. So I would highly recommend you to go to the link tree below. I would highly recommend you make that payment of $200 so you can receive that 7-hour audio series entitled Kingdom Living, because based on this entire video, I'm trying to explain to you how somebody else is going to make you think that the kingdom of heaven is outside of you and it's really with them and they have the keys somehow. And I don't have the keys. I'm just trying to lead you back to yourself, to your source. But for you to let back to your source, there's all these shadows, these goblins, these ghosts that you created that are following you mentally, that now you have to learn how to clean up and how to detach and attach on a percentage level, because your vulnerabilities and insecurities, again, are just trying to teach you something about yourself and where you're supposed to be heading in the future. And when you start putting in the degrees of travel, the increments between you and that vision that you want to be in, that you want to be an artist, a magician, whatever you want to be, a mathematician, an astronomer, astrologer, whatever, there's these increments you have to put in. When you put in these increments, you're gonna be able to get to the highest. I don't want to say the highest level of that, but you're gonna get to the most clearest space of that, where you're gonna be the person that's expressing that clearest in life and things like that. So yeah, and we also have all types of reports as well. It's gonna assist you with understanding your disposition, your mind, because when you understand your personal mind and when you anchor yourself in that space, then you're able to manifest more of that energy. And this is basically what I do every single day, is basically anchor myself within the space of intuition, peacefulness, because that's what helped me manifest the most amount of currency, basically. Let's just say spiritual currency, which is basically vocab, words, ways I can pinpoint to things in the world and talk about it like this. So keep that in mind also. And we're going to infinitely see y'all on the next video. You better believe it.